Hi, I'm Kevin Mathias with the Institute of Applied Agriculture at the University of Maryland, College Park. Today we're going to be looking at some of the summer annual broadleaf weeds that are here on campus. This past week we've been into the 100-degree type temperature, so it's been a nice, hot, dry summer. And so we're going to go around and see what kinds of weeds we can find here on campus.
The sample you're looking at here is carpet weed, and probably as I go out in the field and I look at it, it's just the growth habit of being matted, as you can see here. The leaves consist of a whorl leaf arrangement where they come off, and they can be anywhere from 3 to 8 leaves per whorl as we look at it. Flowers are small, white, they typically down by the leaf axil. And this plant will be active usually as we go through July and the August time period. Normally you see it in open areas, a lot of times in cultivated fields. It's quite common now in turf grass and landscape settings. I normally see it in areas where we've got either soil disturbance or the turf grass is very thin. South thistles are another summer annual that we have. There are a number of different species of south thistle. The sample that you're seeing here is known as spiny south thistle. We do have a common or annual south thistle, and then there is a perennial south thistle. And there's another related species which is known as prickly lettuce. But with the south thistles, the characteristics is, if we look at, particularly the spiny south thistles, the number of prickles that are at the edges of the leaves that you can see here, that is very characteristic of this particular species. The prickly lettuce will actually have spines up on the underside, on the main veins of the leaf, where you don't see that with the south thistles. The overall growth characteristic of the south thistles tend to be an upright growth characteristic as the leaves come off, and they come off in an alternate direction. So as this slide is indicating, sort of this upright growth characteristic, and a lot of times with the south thistles I can see them get up to be about 6 to 12, 14 inches in size if they haven't been mowed down. The flowers, this is in the composite family, so they're yellow ray flowers that you see for the south thistles, and then as these flowers begin to mature, you will get what we call these puff balls that form and then disperse by wind. The spurges are another very common broadleaf summer annual weed that we normally see in both ornamental plantings and in turf grass situations. Some of the characteristics that I think are important is the opposite leaf arrangement that we see here. And then the other thing with the spurges is that if you break a leaf or stem, you'll see a milky white sap appear at that ending. They tend to be tap-rooted, as you can see here, and then they spread out and then almost form a mat. So they have a very distinctive prostrate growth characteristic to it. The flowers are formed in the leaf axil, very, very small, and they tend to be clustered in that area. So spotted spurge is another species of spurge. We had just talked about the prostrate spurge, and the distinctive thing about the spotted spurge is as you look at the leaves, they tend to have that purple mark. And once again, this slide really illustrates the opposite leaf arrangement, and then you can see these real small white flower clusters down in the leaf axil. Purslane is also within the group known as portulaca. We actually have some ornamental plant material that's in this group. What's real characteristic to me with this plant sample is the very succulent leaf and also stem growth within Purslane. It tends to be prostrate, kind of growing down low to the ground, characteristic for this particular plant sample. Branches tend to be, or the stems will be branching, quite distinctive there. The stems can pick up from a green to kind of a pinkish color with the stems. It's going to be characteristic of Purslane. When it flowers, there will be a yellow flower, and it will have 5 petals to it. Normally we see Purslane in areas that either are quite dry, exposed type locations, but also can do well under very nutrient-rich type soils. Knotweed has a number of different common names, known as knotgrass. Another one is called doorweed. It is also called an indicator plant, in that it's one of the first summer annuals actually to germinate. Here in the Maryland area, we often see it begin to germinate sometime in mid to late March time period. And when it does germinate, it almost looks like a grass that's starting to germinate. It has an alternate leaf arrangement to it, and then the other thing is down in the leaf axil area, we will find it to have these really small white flowers that are present there. The plant is taprooted, and then it tends to spread out, forming kind of a carpet appearance with regards to knotweed. Now, knotweed is also found in areas where we have really compacted soil conditions. So the edge of sidewalks, next to driveways and so forth is where knotweed really tends to perform quite well. We have several different species of smartweeds. One is known as Pennsylvania smartweed, the other one's called lady thumb smartweed. Some of the common names too you might hear is called pinkweed or purpleweed, and a lot of that has to do with describing the flower that you see here with regards to smartweed. The plant prefers really what I consider moist, kind of shady condition where I see it, maybe in turf situations or in some ornamental planting areas. The leaves are alternate. They tend to be lanceolate or sort of pointed as they come towards the tip of the plant, as this is shown in this slide here. Now, as the leaf comes down to the stem, there's a sheath area that is known as an okra, and it is differences between Pennsylvania smartweed and, let's say, our lady's thumb is based on that difference in the sheath. So the sample that we have here is the lady's thumb smartweed, and I can tell that looking at the sheath area and looking at some of the hair coming off, but that's down where the leaf comes down to the stem.